Hi everybody, in this video we'll be deriving revenue, cost, and profit functions using integration. This means we're moving from marginal rates to total functions. We're given analysis from TechConnect, which manufactures specialized tablets. We know that their marginal revenue is 1200 minus 0.4x and their marginal cost is the square root of 4x plus 400. We're also given the initial conditions that r of 0 is 0 and that c of 0 is 8,000. r of 0 equals 0 for every revenue function that we look at because when you have no sales, you have no revenue. But c of 0 will change depending on the particular problem you look at because c of 0 looks at the fixed costs for the individual product. We'll start by finding the revenue function. We'll bring back that we know the marginal revenue is 1200 minus 0.4x and r of 0 is 0. To get r of x, we'll do integration. So we'll integrate 1200 minus 0.4x dx. We just need to use the power rule. r of x will be equal to 1200 times x minus 0.4. X to the 1 becomes x squared and we divide by 2. Don't forget to add c. This becomes 1200x minus 0.2 x squared plus c. We just simplified the 0.4 over 2. To solve for c, we're going to plug in the value of 0 and make sure we get 0. r of 0 will be 1200 times 0 minus 0.2 times 0 squared plus c. Because this is 0, we know c is 0. That says our revenue function is just 1200x minus 0.2x squared. Let's move on to the cost function. We were given the marginal cost as the square root of 4x plus 400, and c of 0 is equal to 8,000. Again, we need to integrate. When we integrate the square root of 4x plus 400 dx, we need to use substitution. The 4x plus 400 will be u. When we take the derivative, we get du is equal to 4 dx. Because we don't have a 4, we'll divide by it to get 1/4 of du is equal to dx. We'll take those values and plug them into our integral. Now we have c of x is the integral of 1/4 of the square root of u du. Let's rewrite that to make it easy to use the power rule. We'll write this as 1/4 u to the 1/2 du. Now when I integrate, I'm just going to add 1 to the power and divide. I'll have 1/4 u to the 3/2 divided by 3/2 plus c. Remember, when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. That says we have 2/3 times 1/4 times u to the 3/2 plus c. The 2/3 times 1/4 just becomes 1/6. So I have 1/6 times 4x plus 400 to the 3/2 plus c. We're going to use our initial condition of c of 0 to solve for our constant of integration c. This means we need to plug 0 into the entire function. Let's use our calculator to help us find this value of c. In Desmos, I put in the function c of x is 1/6 times 4x plus 400 to the 3/2. I'm going to put in c of 0 to see what that part of the function gives me. It gives me 1,333.33. I know when I add c, it's supposed to be 8,000. So if I take 8,000 and subtract c of 0, I'll get the value of my constant of integration, which is 6,666.67. Now that we know the value of c, we can write our cost function as c of x is 1/6 4x plus 400 to the 3/2 plus 6,666.67. The last thing we want to do is look at profit. We want to find the profit for selling 150 tablets. I'm going to write that p of x is r of x minus c of x, which means p of x is 1200x minus 0.2x squared minus 1/6 of 4x plus 400 to the 3/2 plus 6,666.67. I don't have any like terms, so there's nothing I can combine. What I need to do now is plug in 150 to find my profit. Again, let's return to our calculator. So in the calculator, I put in p of x equals parentheses 1200x minus 0.2x squared minus another big set of parentheses 1/6 4x plus 400. And notice that I put the exponent in parentheses to make sure I kept that 3/2 together. Then I have plus 6,666.67, and I close the parenthesis. Now that we have our profit function in, we can put in 150, a P of 150, which gives me an answer of $163,562.87. Using the calculator to do this part helps us out so that we don't have to put 150 in for each individual piece that has an X.